We got the top storylines for the Rams that you need to know heading into training camp. Why people are not realizing this about this Rams team. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you haven't yet, do us a huge favor. Join the party. Subscribe to the Locked On Rams YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. And if you're already a subscriber, hit the like button. Podcast listeners, write a review. We'll read it on the show. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. Cover LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, Bleacher Report, Dodgers Nation, SI. Also do some NFL radio for Westwood One. And today we've got the return, the much anticipated return of the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, the new host of Locked On Dodgers. You guys in the comments always used to say we used to talk so much Dodgers. Well, guess what? They went and just gave him the Locked On Dodgers show, so that's probably thanks to you guys. So you can follow him on X and Instagram at Travis Rogers. Travis back at Locked On Rams, of course. It's been a minute, my man.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I've been getting my Locked On beak wet on Locked On Dodgers, like you mentioned, but obviously keeping an eye on the Rams as well and doing my radio show. So it is good to be back, D-Mac, and I'm ready to talk some Rams football.
And we're going to bounce around, focus on all these storylines heading into training camp, talk some Jalen Ramsey, them not getting that deal done, some Kyren Williams. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. All right, Travis, so, there just wasn't enough articles and episodes about the Rams' pursuit of Jalen Ramsey. And just when you thought there was none left, let's just kind of bring that topic back. It did turn into Locked On Ramsey for a couple weeks there. And obviously, last time we chatted, we both said that, hey, this is something that did make some sense. I wouldn't say we were like all the way in on this, but we definitely would have given it our stamp of approval under the right conditions. But after seeing how that deal went down, the fact that Ramsey got a raise and you gave up a player that you really liked, it just did not seem like, from a financial standpoint, it made a lot of sense for the Rams. I think they made the right decision and that this was a pass for less need and the Rams.
Yeah, I go back to when you and I were talking about it as often as we were, and it was always kind of the same thing. It's if they can find a way to make this work economically, if they can find a way to make this work without giving up more than you should, then this is a perfect fit to have him come back to LA. It's not about the player. It's about what does the player cost. And seeing what the Steelers gave up to get him, they ate all of the money. They gave up Minkah Fitzpatrick. And if that's the price, go with God. That's one of those, go ahead and go over there. But no, I'm not paying premium prices, new car prices for a used car. Jalen Ramsey is still a really good player, but I don't know if he's Jalen Ramsey. Like, you go back to it, and I know it's not exactly apples to apples, that there are some contractual things that are a little different, but when Ramsey left the Rams the first time, the Rams got a fifth rounder and Hunter Long coming back the other way. The price on him this time was a player like Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's a multiple-time Pro Bowler and a starting player on your team. That's a high price, and clearly the Rams felt that it wasn't something that they were comfortable doing. And like you've heard me say a lot, D-Mac, and the everydayers have heard me say a lot, that if Les Snead doesn't like it, then I'm gonna side with Les, because he's gotten a lot more of these right than he's gotten wrong. And I don't know if that was the thing that's going to keep them out of the Super Bowl. It might have been the thing that put them in, but I'm disappointed that it didn't happen. But if that's the price, I think they made the right call as well.
Yeah, I think it's easy to get caught up in the name, right? It makes you feel good. It's kind of like that, once a Ram, always a Ram. He won a title here. And then I think what kind of changed things for Rams fans and people like you and me was how open Sean McVay and Les Snead were to talking about how much they love Jalen Ramsey and that there was a chance that they were going to reunite in some capacity. But the saying, today's price isn't yesterday's price. And there was a time when people were saying maybe the Dolphins pay down something, right? Maybe you don't get this massive return, and as far as him wanting to get paid more, Andy, we always knew he wanted to get an extension, but the truth is, if you're the Rams, if you weren't willing to pay him a few years ago when he was younger at 29, what makes you think you're going to pay him at 31? And I think another thing really stands out to me is that the Rams have drafted and developed such an impressive core group of young players that they're already thinking ahead to paying guys like Byron Young and Kobe Turner and Puka Nacua and Steve Avila and guys like that they said, look, yes, we're all in with Devontae Adams and Matthew Stafford. We think that we can win a Lombardi trophy with this group, but you combine the having to pay Ramsey with just the truth that he's good, but he's not great. He's not elite. Would he have been an upgrade? Sure, you can make that case. But to me, this was a no-brainer based on what the Dolphins and Steelers ultimately worked out. So I feel good about this moving forward.
Yeah, me too. I like what you said, that this is not the guy that they gave up a couple of first-round draft picks to go get a few years ago, who was probably the best player at his position in the whole league, who was almost a lock to go to the Pro Bowl year after year. And the Rams got, I think, the best football out of Jalen Ramsey. And, you know, when it was time to move on, they did. And if there was a way to get back into that business at a reasonable rate, I think they would have done it because, you know, they're familiar. He brings a certain level of nastiness to the team that I think they could always use, but not at that price. What was nice about it, Doug, was the price was so high, it was an easy no. It wasn't one of those, man, you know, do we do it? I don't know. It's like if you were buying a house and asking was, okay, I'll pay asking, and someone comes in and pays, you know, $300,000 over it. You're like, okay, man, I'm out. I can't do that. That's an easy walk away. And that's what this felt like.
Yeah. It sounds like my wife and I are trying to buy a house in LA. We're like, oh, cool. Zillow that X amount, and then sure, we'll throw in a bid. It sounds cool. For a couple of days. Like, hey, man, we threw in our offer only for someone to be like, yo, that thing went for like 400,000 over. You're like, I can't lose sleep about it, right? Can't buy a house you truly can't afford. So I do think that's a fantastic point, that is what made it an easier kind of thing to accept. Now, as far as just the overall outlook for the secondary, yes, look, I mean, there is not a lot of guys that scream, okay, potential All-Pro, potential Pro Bowler. But I think that if this group can be greater than the sum of their parts and guys can just have upticks, right? I mean, if Kobe Durant can figure things out a little more in his final year in his rookie deal, if Quint Lake can continue to emerge, if Akella Witherspoon can play like he did in the playoffs, if Darius Williams, who had a down year last year, but he did have one of the best seasons of his career in 2023, can get back to that. And yes, these are a lot of ifs, right? And right now, when you're in summer, you're like in the big if mode with capital letters. But if you get like 2 out of those 3 things, you can have a serviceable group. And when you have a front line that they have, a group to get to the quarterback like Byron Young and Jared Verse, Kobe Turner and Braden Fisk, and an improved linebacker play, I think just all in all, this defense can be good enough with a top 10 offense to compete for a Super Bowl. You're not going to have a 10 out of 10 defense and a 10 out of 10 offense, save for a very few examples. So just give us like a 6.5 to a 7 out of 10 defense, and you're going to be fine. In the secondary, they can find a way with this talent that they have in that group and with Chris Shula as their coordinator to be more than serviceable. I'm confident about that.
Yeah, I think you put your finger right on the most important thing for me is the back end can't be bad, but it doesn't have to be elite because the front of their defense is going to be one of the best in the entire NFL. You mentioned the names. Those guys are going to get after the quarterback. I think Jared Verse is going to have a much better year statistically this upcoming season than he did last year. I think Braden Fisk is getting ready to explode. Turner and Young, all the guys you mentioned. Quarterback's going to have to get rid of the ball pretty quickly. And I think it goes back to the same thing with the Rams, that on offense, if the Rams can score points, like I think we're all hoping that they do, if their offensive line can stay healthy enough to give Matthew Stafford the time that he needs to use Puka Nacua, to use Devontae Adams, and those sort of things, the Rams are going to be playing with a lot of leads. And that means that the Rams, defensively, they can pin their ears back and go get the quarterback. That's going to make the back end of that defense that much better, where you don't need to have, 4 Jalen Ramseys back there holding it down.
Yeah, just overall, I mean, Cameron Curl was the only guy last year to get a coverage grade overall over 70. But here's the thing. I mean, just kind of like talking to people sometimes that work for these organizations, they don't do what we do. Like the Rams aren't like, oh, dude, PFF has us at 18. They have our secondary as 18th in the league. We got to make a move because PFF has our secondary ranked towards the bottom. That's not how they operate, right? They're more concerned about the future with guys improving. I do think the number one key to the Rams secondary, I mean, you know that Akello as an outside, you know that Williams as an outside, that's basically where they're at. But it's the flexibility of guys like Kobe Durant go inside, outside, and Quentin Lake. If Quentin Lake continues to get better, I think that's huge because he's got that hybrid safety cornerback type look. He can cover deep and cover in the slot. I think he really holds the key to what this defense can be as far as in the secondary, and I think it's going to prove massively for sure.
I think he's a big part of it. I think another name that you mentioned a second ago is going to be a big part of it as well. I know that my radio partner and Rams sideline reporter DeMarco Farr has been talking about Cam Curl a lot on our radio show, and him kind of elevating his game, and maybe he could become that guy that is kind of the leader of that back end and a player that, you know, last year, like you said, had a grade over 70, but was maybe a little bit better than that and is getting ready to take that jump into that next category and continue to move forward. And it's not what you were, it's what you're going to be. And if everybody's a little bit better, if one or two people get a lot better, if one or two people, even improve incrementally, it makes the whole defense better. And I don't think that there's any question that up front they're going to be better. And they were really good last year, that the entire defense, all 11 guys out there are going to feed off each other. Because that front four is going to be so good.
100%. And coming up, we are going to talk about more defensive players. Jared Verse, can he win the Defensive Player of the Year award in year 2? Also, some more Kyren Williams extension talk. Does Travis think they should go all in on Kyren Williams? I gave you my thoughts on that yesterday. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you are about baseball under the lights or golf on the green or maybe even a little high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel, our pals at FanDuel, the best way to make every game more exciting. So you're already following all the action, right? You're glued to these games. You're checking out, see what happens. Why not make it, just this much better, a little bit more thrilling? And with FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends, they're doing whatever it is they're doing. They're sunburned at the beach or hanging out at the lake or whatever. You are having fun with FanDuel because you can track your favorite matchups. And of course, that app is going to keep it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's super easy to use, super fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Like, I can't go anywhere. I got to check this out. This is important, right? That's a fun time. So whether you're doing a same-game parlay or watching some bet ride deep into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like you are part of the action. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started.
And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, a special shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Training camp less than 2 weeks away. We're back to 5 episodes a week mode. Lots of new listeners, lots of new viewers lately. So now's the time to join that everyday listeners club. All you got to do is watch or listen to every single episode of Locked On Rams, and you won't miss a thing about your favorite football team. But all right, Travis, here in our second segment, we're going to actually stay on the defensive side for a second here. I want to talk a little bit about Jared Verse. And before we talk about if he can win the Defensive Player of the Year award and the kind of superstar he can be, he was on a podcast. He was doing an interview, and the podcaster, I forgot the person's name. I feel bad, but it was a podcast. Go listen to it. I'll Google it. I don't know. He was asking him, if you had the chance to win 1 Super Bowl or 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards, which would you pick? And right away, Jared Verse said, Super Bowl. Give me that Super Bowl. I don't have to think about it. And then he paused, let a couple of seconds go by, took some beats, and said, wait a minute, 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards? I'm taking the 4. So I don't know about you, but I kind of want to get your thoughts on this. Because look, Super Bowl is great, right? I mean, that glory, Lombardi Trophy, I mean, the ring lasts forever. But if you get 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards, you are an absolute lock for the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. For me, hey, players go broke all the time and they'll sell their Super Bowl rings on eBay. I just buy one, right? And make believe. Give me the 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards over the Super Bowl, but what say you?
Yeah, so look, you may know the answer to this, Doug. I do not know the answer to this off the top of my head, but did Lawrence Taylor win 4? Did Reggie White win 4?
No one's ever won 4.
Okay, then we're done here. The answer is 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards for all the reasons that you just said. And oh, by the way, yeah, I didn't hear the podcast myself, but if the question is a Super Bowl or 4 DPOYs, it doesn't imply that you can't win the Super Bowl and the DPOY. If you win 4 of those things, the odds are pretty good that your team, because think about the Defensive Players of the Year. You're talking about guys like Aaron Donald. You're talking about guys like Reggie White and Lawrence Taylor. Those guys won Super Bowls. One thing does lead to the other in a lot of this stuff. And look, let's never sleep on this. I know we're fans. I know we like to see our teams win. I know we like to see our teams compete and do whatever it is they can to try to go win Super Bowls and World Series and NBA Finals championships and all that kind of stuff. But this is their occupation. And their occupation is to do a very good job and get as much money as you possibly can while doing it. And 4 DPOYs will get you paid. So I understand where Jared's coming from, and I certainly am not telling him he's making the wrong call.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, by the way, I just want to look it up because I want to give the guy credit for his show. He was on a podcast. It's called Spa Day from Whistle. So it's called Spa Day from Whistle Network. He was asked this question. And the thing is too, is like as you pointed out, like usually when you're winning season awards, it's kind of the best players on the best teams in a lot of sports. But in the NFL, I mean, like Patrick Surtain, he won it last year, right? I mean, Myles Garrett won it, right? You don't need that in the NFL. So you can be best player on crappy team, and Myles Garrett be on the Browns. He might just like have a shot at this naturally. But yeah, I think that's important to note.
I think especially when you're a young player and you're thinking of that, if you were in your 10th year and you had like, if you're Myles Garrett and you're looking around like, hey man, I've done all this and I'm still in a lousy situation, maybe you feel a little differently. I think Jared Verse is going to be able to check both of those boxes before it's all said and done, because he is an extraordinary talent and he is just getting started.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of going into Jared Verse, I mean, there's going to be a lot of expectations on him this season. I mean, he was already riding high off that Defensive Rookie of the Year award that he won, and there's always going to be a lot of pressure when you win that award in year 2. But I think what makes him so enticing and just so intriguing as a player is there's just so much room for improvement based on what we saw last year. Because last year, he had a true pressure score of 52.5. That was second to just Myles Garrett. He had a 6.4 snaps per pressure that led the NFL. So he was already putting up like not rookie good numbers. He was putting just like the best at their position type of numbers. But that was with one move, really. I mean, the bull rush is kind of what he does. And if you look at just his usage of that, he's using that bull rush a little over 64% of the time. If you see him work on some counters, work on his hands a little bit, and just use different ways to get to the quarterback and also finish when he gets home, he's not missing tackles. We are truly talking about a guy that has that kind of potential to win that award.
Oh, look, for sure. I think that he's, probably on everybody's radar for that, just coming into his second year, like you mentioned. Look, here's what I can tell you. I talk to people in and around the Rams pretty regularly, and I have never heard anything other than Jared Verse is a very serious individual who takes his football very seriously, which means he's taking care of his body, which means he's making good decisions, which means he's studying, which means he cares, which means that he's going to show up better than he was a year ago. The one variable that no one can ever control is whether or not you stay healthy. That's just up to good luck and taking care of your body. He's taking care of his body. That's good news. But here's what you know for sure. He's going to come back stronger, which will make him better. He's going to come back with additional tools in his toolbox that's going to make him harder to defend. I'll drop it again. I was talking with DeMarco on our show the other day, And he was talking about where you come into the league and you have a move that works, and they're really not paying a lot of attention to you, right? Because you're a rookie. I don't have to sweat you too much. I'm going to be able to block you. And then all of a sudden you have a thing that works, and you just keep going back to that thing, and you keep blowing up plays or getting sacks or whatever it is. Well, eventually it's like, hey, that guy's a problem. Let's watch. And it's pretty quick. It's like, oh, he just does this one thing. Take the one thing away from him, and you can take that out. It's going back into that second season, going back into the lab, so to speak, and coming up with a second move off the first move, a third move off the second move, and just understanding there's a really, really likely scenario that the worst we're going to see of Jared Verse was last year. Let me say it again. The worst version of this player is what you saw last year. And if that's the floor, God only knows what the ceiling looks like. So I think it's really exciting. I think the talent's there. I think more, maybe even more importantly than the talent, because there's a lot of talented guys in the NFL, is the want, is the fierceness, is the fearlessness that he brings to his position, because that position that he plays, that edge spot, is about want as much as it is anything else. And so I'm really excited to see what he's going to show up as, and he's got good teammates, which is the last part of this. If he is a one-man band, yeah, he's going to get some numbers and he's going to be able to do things. But if you design your entire offense to stop Jared Verse, well, Fisk and Turner and Young and who knows who else is going to be out there at any given time, they're going to be able to go reap the benefits of that. And I expect really big things out of him, because he wants really big things out of himself.
Yeah, I mean, his teammate, his boy from Florida State, Braden Fisk, he finished third in the voting as well. So, yeah. I mean, that's going to be a nice little security blanket, have your boy going through this together. But yeah, as you pointed out, I mean, I love that. That fires me up, really, to just know that, hey, if this is basically the beginning, his floor, and yes, of course, he's going to be schemed against more because he's a known commodity and he's not going to fly under the radar anymore. But an entire offseason of NFL weight training and knowing the offenses and just having the game slow down for you and just working on that technique, it's definitely going to have the potential to take his game to another level. And I think you point out too, like, if you have something that works, like Mariano Rivera, he threw the cutter, man. It worked, right? You didn't really need anything else. But I mean, I think for an edge rusher like him, 44 pressures off the bull rush last year. That was 64.7%. The second most pressures of any other move was his speed rip at 7, inside counter at 6. So just imagine, though, if like you see some of those other things, like the spin, the power to speed, the swipe and chop. Imagine if you see that go up. How do you defend this guy, right? How the heck do you defend this guy?
He's got everything you need other than experience. Well, we just got a little bit of experience put into that recipe, and he's going to come back with a lot more. And I'll say it again, that he wants to be great. There are we've seen it, and it's, look, I've talked about this, whether it's with Tiger Woods or Kobe Bryant or LeBron James or any of these guys that are the best at what they do. There's a lot of guys that are given tools and talent, and they get something out of it, and they go and they have great careers. They might win a little bit, maybe they do this or that or an MVP, but to be truly special, you are given special talent, but you're also given that little something extra, that special thing that says, I want to get every last drop out of this. And that's why Tiger isn't Phil Mickelson. That's why Tiger's Tiger. That's why Kobe Bryant isn't just a guy that won a title or two. It's why he's Kobe Bryant. And all of these guys they're just wired a little different, where, yes, I have talent, but I'm going to get every last thing out of it. And everything I've heard about Verse is he's one of those guys that wants that too. You just got to cross your fingers and hope that he stays healthy, because that's the one thing that's nobody can control.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, I think that some people think that, like, well, yeah, everyone should want to be their best. Everyone should want to be great. A lot of guys, hey, I'm here, I got paid, I'm still really good, but am I going to just make those sacrifices every single day and push myself to that degree? It's what really, it separates the all pros from the Pro Bowlers to the Hall of Famers, the legends. Then you got to have some injury luck too, right? And you got to be in good situations with good coaches and with management that wants to put talent around you. It's like, it's a very kind of complicated thing. I remember, we talk about Locked On Dodgers. Dave Roberts once was telling us, like, in the dugout when he's a different dude when there's no cameras around, and he actually said that Shohei told him that he wanted to be the best player ever. And you could never think, like, Shohei would never say that if there was cameras on, right? But to know that, like, that's in this dude's brain right? I'm not comparing Jared Verse to Shohei Ohtani, but these guys that like want that, like that's like they're constantly reminding themselves that in their brain. I do feel like, hey, the fact that he's seeking out Aaron Donald, the fact that he has all these things that it definitely is. I do want to point out this though. Did you see this? So Sean McVay, he actually a couple of weeks ago, he tricked Jared Verse into thinking Aaron Donald was about to walk into a team meeting after Verse had challenged him to a workout. And then McVay said, this is a family show, so he can't cuss, but he said he looked like he was going to poop himself. So, yeah, I mean, there's two things you don't do. You don't get Aaron Donald angry at you. You don't get into a rap battle with Eminem. I mean, but yeah, I mean, what thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, he's different, and I'm excited to see. Like I go back to what we were talking about a second ago. That just there's Kobe and there's Tiger and there's LeBron, and it's like you say, well, give me a little more. There's no more to give, right? And then you look at a player like Shaq. Was there more to give? Yeah, probably. You know, honestly, and look, Shaq's great. I love Shaq. Shaq won titles, and Shaq's a Hall of Famer, and Shaq's one of the all-time greats. But does anybody really feel like he got all of Shaq? And the answer is, I don't think you did. And hopefully that Verse falls into that category of, you know, I want all of it. I don't want to just make a Pro Bowl. I don't want to just win a Super Bowl or a DPOY award. I want all of it. And Aaron Donald got all of it. And you know, to compare anybody to him is probably a mistake because they don't come around very often. But just the mentality that comes along with it, I think, is really interesting.
No doubt about it, man. Hey, Shaq doesn't rehab on company time, right? I mean, we know that's what he does. But
my favorite sports quote of all time. It is unequivocally the greatest thing ever said.
The big Shaq just, but I love it. But coming up next, some quick takes on Kyren Williams. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Travis, so we'll pick up this conversation in more detail. We'll dig deeper tomorrow. But look, one of the big storylines in training camp is Jordan Rodriguez of The Athletic. She did say that, hey, the way that things work out with the Rams, they almost give themselves this window to get these types of deals done, and she could see an extension done with Kyren Williams. I think, hey, this is a guy you don't want to pay as a top 5, top 10 running back. I do think if they ultimately get a deal done, that will tell me that there was some give on his end to get almost a team-friendly deal because he loves this organization. He knows he thrives here. So I'm here for an extension, but under the right circumstances.
You can't give everybody what they would like or maybe even what they deserve. This is a salary capped league, and there are certain positions that are more valuable than others. Unfortunately for Kyren Williams, who I think is a good player, who I hope stays a Ram for a while, who I hope has a big year coming up. I think he's a good football player, but he is not irreplaceable. He just isn't. And a 80% version of Kyren Williams and 85% version of Kyren Williams from a production standpoint at half the cost, no brainer. It is a no brainer. He needs to move. The Rams do not. I think that, look, Matthew Stafford, I've sat here, the everydayers will remember this. You and I have talked about this. That's one of those, you're going to have to give him what he wants. You're not going to get another one of those. You're just not going to find it. And, you know, when Todd Gurley was here a few years ago and got that big deal, there wasn't another Todd Gurley waiting for you. Todd Gurley was special. Kyren Williams is good. There's a lot of real estate between special and good, and Kyren Williams is good. You can find good again. You can't find special again. You can find good. So I hope he stays. But if he's waiting for the Rams to blink on the economics of this and pay him like he is an irreplaceable special player, I think he's going to be disappointed because I think the Rams know they have a good player, not a special one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the unicorns, pay them, right? Eric Dickerson, Marshall Faulk, Steven Jackson, Todd Gurley. You know what's crazy? The Todd Gurley deal, probably I would still do it again. Honestly, just you didn't know his knee was going to be degenerative, right?
No, I mean, Todd Gurley nearly won the MVP. Todd Gurley was not a good running back. Todd Gurley was a great running back. Todd Gurley was one of those guys that if you had him on your team, something really good was probably going to happen. Kyren Williams is a good football player, a guy that I would rather have than not have, but you're going to have to meet my price. I can walk away. I can go to another store. I can find something close enough, and I might even be able to find it for a lot less. It is what it is. It's just I'm not – he doesn't have the cards to make them give him what he would like, or maybe even what he deserves. That if you put Blake Corum out there, is it way different? Maybe, but maybe not. If you had Christian McCaffrey back there, if you had Saquon Barkley back there, if you had Derrick Henry back there, it's like, look, he's special. You got to give him what he wants. He hasn't shown that he's that guy.
Yeah, I mean, if it's Saquon Barkley, like Saquon Barkley is like the mint green Labubu. Do you know about these Labubu things?
I do know what Labubu is, yes.
Yeah, the mint green Labubu is like, it went for like 170. I don't know why. I saw like a Instagram. I want a Labubu, all right, guys? If you guys, I don't want to pony up for it, but like, that's not what Kyren Williams is. But Kyren Williams is essential to the success of the 2025 Rams, and that's what I'm focused on. So that's why I do want to get a deal done, because you want a happy version of him. And yes, he was already at OTAs, so working on his explosion. Gold has talked very highly of him. He's going to be very important to this team. But yeah, I'm with you. I just feel like they like you. Like, you know what's funny? I remember you talking about this when we were still talking about Cam Akers, and you would always bring up that every time McVay was asked about Cam Akers, somehow, some way, his response would include Kyren Williams. And when Sean McVay likes someone, they stay in this organization. And Sean McVay really likes Kyren Williams, and that's why I think they're going to get a deal done.
I do too. I think that it will get done, because I think Kyren Williams is a pretty smart guy. I think that he's a hard worker. I think he's going to look around. I think he's going to know that, maybe I can't get paid right this second, but maybe I can get paid a little bit later. Maybe that's somewhere else. But the best way to get paid better somewhere else is to ball out right now, right here, and kind of raise his value. And maybe that's the Rams, or maybe it's somewhere down the road. But I think, if I'm Les Snead, if I'm Sean McVay, I want you to stay, but I can't move heaven and earth to get you to stay. You're going to have to meet me somewhere closer to my terms than yours.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. But that's it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.